My lawn's on fire. World's got a fever getting higher and higher. Raping Mother Nature, cracking up the earth, selling off the land for all that it's worth. Just a little blue rock flying through space. Whoever told you that you own this place? Money makes you ugly, baby, that's the truth. Money makes you ugly, you're the living proof. One thing in life I know for sure, money makes you ugly. That's why I'm glad to be poor. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Thank you for coming today and spending the hour together. Rotarian Norm Robbins is going to give our invocation, followed by past President Doug Briley, fractional CMO and marketing consultant, who will lead us in the national anthem. Norm?
Let us pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks for opportunities to provide service above self, and we pray that we may focus on those most in need. We ask that you bless this food to our use and us to thy loving service. In your name we pray. Amen. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Norm and Doug. Here to welcome our guest is Keenan Hand, Chief Development Officer at Lena Pope. Keenan.
Welcome to our guests. I have an easy list today, so I'll be pleased about that. First, we have Lisbeth Berlin, guest of Key Bryant. And then we have Jake Zalek, guest of Ed McLinn. Welcome to our guests.
Thank you. Thank you, Keenan. And thank you to our meeting sponsor, Whitley Penn, a trusted accounting firm that takes the time to understand your goals, challenges, and vision. They offer a personalized approach, trusted guidance, and meaningful solutions. We're grateful to Mike Herman, the Chief Administrative Officer, and our Rotary Program Committee Chair for the sponsorship of today's meeting and for having brought us outstanding programs all year long. I think we should give Mike a hand. Each week, as we join together in fellowship, we repeat Rotary's four-way test. Please say it with me. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. And now it's time for our newscast, a lighthearted look at the news of the week. Here to enlighten us is John Fletcher, President and CEO of Fletcher Consulting Public Relations. John.
Thank you, President Ann. I feel about as welcome as Dak Prescott walking in and saying, "Honey, I'm home." Ooh. Well, today is Friday the 13th, so don't walk under any ladders or let any black cats walk in front of you. It's also IndyCar Grand Prix race weekend at Arlington with practice today and tomorrow, and the big race on Sunday is going around the stadiums at almost 200 miles an hour on Randallville Drive. And Tuesday is St. Patrick's Day with green beer and leprechauns near any and every Irish bar. In political news, the Harris County judge is in hot water for abusing her VIP privileges at Rodeo Houston. After receiving up-close credentials worth $9,000 for 3 consecutive nights total, she argued that she deserved the same credentials on another night, but they were sold out. She's not going away quietly, but rodeo officials say she is going away. And this may be the worst political comeback story ever. Tiffany Henyard, who called herself the super mayor of Dalton, Illinois, was relieved from her position for spending like a drunk sailor, and I mean no disregard to drunk sailors. But she took a town with a $5 million surplus and turned it into a $3 million debt. And now that former Democrat has moved to Georgia, where she's running for the Fulton County Commission as a Republican. She apparently wants to be an equal party offender. In the nation's capital, while Congress has refused to pass the SAVE Act about voter ID, leaders are changing the name to see if it might pass to the Give Congress a Raise Act. It's a bad time to be a pro athlete in Dallas, or formerly in Dallas. Luka Doncic, who was infamously traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, is contesting child custody in his suit against his former fiancée, and it does get worse. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott's wedding has been called off due to alleged infidelity. Your Rotary News team is on top of this. Dak returned home midday to surprise her. There she was in the bedroom wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jersey. How dare she? Speaking of America's teams, Jerry Jones has promised to be very active in the free agent market. So far, he's spending in the bottom 1/3 of the league. He's reported to have said that in free agency, he will sign any player who is free. And here's somebody that Jerry should be signing. There's been 6 sightings of Bigfoot in Northeast Ohio in the past week. He's big and hairy and moves like, well, a Bigfoot. The NBA has forced the Atlanta Hawks to cancel their annual promotion with Magic City Monday, an event that promotes what is known as Atlanta's premier strip club. In related news, Lions Club International has moved its convention to Atlanta, but not Rotarians. College basketball tournaments are going on this weekend to see which teams will earn spots at the annual spectacle called March Madness. Gamblers can bet on anything from a team's total weight to the number of points they score in the first minute. And our TCU Horned Frogs, both the men and women, will be playing in the big dance. Some of the teams, yes, I think that's for me, thank you. Some of the teams still in the bubble for March Madness have intriguing names, from the University of California, Santa Cruz, the Banana Slugs, to the Delta State Fighting Okra, the Scottsdale Community College Fighting Artichokes, and of course, Slippery Rock State Teachers College. Our own Colonial Country Club may be in the news, as a certain Mr. Woods has expressed an interest in this year's Charles Schwab Challenge. Alas, it's Charlie Woods, not Tiger. And now with our reporters, roving reporter Mike Herman.
You can't just make this up. Canadian psychology professor travels with an emotional support chicken because, in his words, she can understand my emotions.
That's it. Joe Michaels.
Waterman is giving us something to talk about, as he harvested iguanas that had frozen during the recent freeze. So he created the never-before-tried iguana taco, something that's likely never to be tried again.
And finally, Shavoyd Hamilton.
Finally, there's a reality TV star named Brianna Packard, and she goes by the nickname of Chicken Fry. Now, she claims that GLP-1 weight loss medications like Ozempic is a mistake and it will kill you. But, you know, we need to really listen to her because she's famous. She's really, really famous. But after all, a steak, the chicken fried steak, was named after her.
Thanks, Shavoyd. And finally, good job. Weather forecast calls for high in the 80s with 84 degrees, a beautiful day on Sunday afternoon for the races, and that is Rotary News.
Thank you, John. It's now my pleasure to tell you about something really nice that has happened to our club. A few weeks ago, we were notified by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County that our club had been selected to receive their Humanitarian Award at their annual gala. This is not just a very nice award. The Rotary Club of Fort Worth joins a list of previous recipients that reads like a who's who of charitable organizations and individuals in Fort Worth, including the Amon G. Carter Foundation, the Rainwater Charitable Trust, the Ann Marion, Bob Lansford, the Morris Foundation, and Dr. Bobby and Sarah Brown, among others. So we're in very good company, and it is indeed an honor to be recognized by them. Here to present the award to the club and share some fascinating history about the 100-year relationship between Rotary and the Boys and Girls Club are Daphne Barlow, President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, and our own Ty Stimson, who serves as Chairman of the Boys and Girls Club Board of Governors. Daphne and Ty.
Well, Anne, on behalf of Boys and Girls Club, it is our honor to present the Dr. and Mrs. Bobby Brown Humanitarian Award to the Rotary Club. We are so, so proud. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And if I may,
Yes.
we do have a very short story to share, and this is not one that's widely known, but Boys and Girls Club, it was called the Boys Club at the time, was actually founded at a Rotary Club meeting. Did you know that? So this is our 100-year anniversary. We're celebrating 100 years of great history. It makes us the oldest Boys and Girls Club in the state of Texas. We happen to be the biggest Boys and Girls Club in the state of Texas, so lots of props to hometown here. And in researching this and knowing this for a while, we really felt it appropriate to give this award to the Rotary Club because at a dinner in 1926, Lucien Bonaparte Price stood up at the Rotary Club meeting and gave an impassioned plea, a speech really asking the community there at the Rotary Club meeting to start a boys club. Boys Club had sprung up across the country and had really amazing results at helping to make sure those boys had a safe place to go. He gave such an impassioned plea that when he sat down at his seat at the table, he actually made a face plant into his dinner plate and passed away. As you can imagine, the room was very moved. Within a few days, they raised $10,000, and that was the beginning of the Boys Club. It is pretty amazing, the history, and really a testament to his passion. He was very worked up that day. I think he probably had a heart attack. But really, it was the community, it was the need, and it was the response that has given birth to an organization that has spanned an entire century. We became Boys and Girls Club in the early 90s. We've grown incredibly. We now span 4 counties. And last year, we served over 88,000 unique boys and girls and teens in our community. And that would never have been possible if not for the Rotary Club and one individual who fought passionately for an idea. And so this award is meant to recognize people who have championed our mission and championed kids. And so we are very, very pleased to give this award. Ty, anything you want to say? Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, Ty is an active Rotarian, and I would be remiss if I did not also recognize Jared Cobb on the Boys and Girls Club staff, who is also a very active Rotarian. We are certainly honored to receive this recognition. And while I personally am very excited about this, I would like to ask that everyone take a deep breath and try to be calm. We don't want anyone dying at today's meeting. Next up is a report from our Social Committee Chairman, Ed Macklin, insurance consultant, Champion Commercial Insurance. I hate to ask, but what's going on with the Social Committee, Ed?
So glad you asked.
And I'm so glad you asked that. I was going to have someone ask a question of the audience, but you already asked the question. Anyway, hello, everybody. We still have a few tickets left for an evening at the Texas Ballet Theater tomorrow evening at Bass Hall. Sorry, my cohort isn't here today that works for the ballet. She's busy getting ready. And we'll be attending Diversions by the Texas Ballet Theater, a program featuring extraordinary dancers doing things with their legs that most of us haven't attempted since high school, and wisely so. So it's tomorrow night, and at 7, the performance starts at 8, and at 7 o'clock, they're having us in the green room for cocktails, and then the creative director is going to talk a little bit about what's going to go on. So come enjoy a night of world-class ballet, great company, and the chance to nod thoughtfully during intermission while saying things like, the choreography was really quite compelling. No prior ballet experience required, just bring your spirit and renewed appreciation for flexibility. And hope to see you there tomorrow night. Thanks. Back to you, Ann.
You know, it's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to partner with area nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club, but there are a number of additional nonprofits that we partner with, and it's now my pleasure to introduce Regina Fodden, who is chairman of our Grants Allocation Committee and president of the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. She has 2 grant presentations today. Regina.
Okay, well, thank you all, and it is a privilege to be able to give these checks to nonprofits in our area on behalf of the club. So the first check will go to the Downtown Fort Worth YMCA. Polly Russell, one of our members, is the executive director there. So I'll tell you a little bit about the project. Tarrant County ranks 4th in Texas for preventable child drownings. Many families cannot afford swim lessons, leaving children unprepared and unsafe around water, especially as the summer approaches. The Downtown Fort Worth YMCA sees this need every season among family it serves. Water safety is not a luxury, it is a life-saving education. Our grant will remove financial barriers and allow hundreds of children to access swim instruction that could save their lives. By supporting this project, Rotary helps prevent tragedy, builds community safety, and provides youth the skills and confidence to thrive. The project will serve children ages 6 months to 12 years from low-income families throughout Tarrant County. The YMCA will provide approximately 1,333 swim lessons, directly benefiting hundreds of local children who otherwise could not have access to instruction. This program ensures equitable access to life-saving skills, empowering youth and parents alike to be safer around the water. And Keith Kotar, Association Aquatic Director, is here to accept the check. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Our second grant award is for Tarrant County College Foundation. I forgot to mention we gave $5,000 to the YMCA, and we're also giving $5,000 to this project. The TCC dual credit students take real college courses taught by fully qualified instructors. These classes count towards high school graduation and college credit at the same time. By the time students finish high school, many already have transferable college hours. Dual credit courses are offered either in person or online through participating school districts. This project provides scholarships that cover the cost of required class supplies for dual credit students who qualify for free tuition. By removing financial barriers, it supports Rotary's focus on basic education and literacy that ensures that underserved students can fully participate in college-level classes. Funding these materials creates more equitable access to higher education, helping improve academic success and long-term opportunities. The project also aligns with the Children's Fund by supporting youth from low-income families, and it benefits students from military families by reducing costs of preparing for college, by preparing the students for college. I think that's good there. So anyways, we're going to ask Cynthia Boyd, Interim Executive Director of the Foundation, to come forward, and Laura Faulkner-Pritchett, one of our Rotary members, is also on the board of TCC. What do you think, Jen?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Regina, and congratulations to both the Downtown YMCA and the Tarrant County College Foundation. We're pleased to support your good work. And next, Secretary Karen Telshaw Johnson, owner-principal Telshaw Johnson Law, PLLC, has 3 first readings of membership applicants. Karen?
Figure it out. All right, so we have 3 first readings today, and the proposed members are, number 1, David S. Farrell, Vice President of Development, James L. West Center. Healthcare is the classification, and the proposer is Cheryl Harding. The second is Bonnie Legliski, Executive Director at the Staten at Museum Way. Senior Living is the classification. Cheryl Harding is the proposer. And last but certainly not least, Joanne Reyes, Municipal Court Judge, the City of Fort Worth Municipal Court's proposer, Joe Michaels. So if no written objections are received in the Rotary office by March 21st, these proposals will be given second readings and voted on by the club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. And now it's my pleasure to present a blue badge to Stay Hall. Stay, if you'd come forward. Receiving a blue badge is a big deal because that means that a new Rotarian has completed 6 acts of service, which Stay has. So congratulations, and tell us your favorite act of service.
Oh, my favorite act of service had to be working the check-in table for all of the members, because that way I got to meet most of you and learn everyone's name.
Well, here you go, and congratulations. We're so glad to have you.
It's good to be here.
Oh, she won't go away.
Oh, let's hold my badge. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. All right. Now, if you're working on your blue badge, we encourage you to finish those 6 acts of service and we look forward to presenting more blue badges soon. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the stage the aforementioned Mike Herman, Chief Administrative Officer, Whitley Penn, and our program chair. Mike.
Thank you, President Ann. And on the tables today, Whitley Penn has left some pocket tax guides. If you need one and it's not on your table, there's probably some on some of the other tables over there. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. I met our speaker through a longtime friendship with his father-in-law, and I introduced him to the Whitley Penn firm. Since our speaker's topic is digital transformation, I asked ChatGPT to help with this introduction. It is my pleasure to introduce Jake Bain. Jake is a seasoned professional in the world of digital transformation, helping organizations navigate the rapidly evolving intersection of technology, data, and business strategy. Early in his career, Jake worked with 2 international accounting firms, KPMG and EY, where he provided services for companies like T-Mobile and Amazon. He joined Whitley Penn as Managing Director, Digital Services Leader in 2023. He leads a team of approximately 25 people comprised of full-time employees and contractors in the U.S., India, and Spain. In his role, he advises organizations on how to modernize their systems, improve operations, and use technology to drive smarter decisions making and long-term growth. Jake was born in Denton, and he is a Texas Tech alum. Got any of those? He has a BBA in Finance and Management Information Systems and a master's degree in Data Science. Last year, Jake was named to Fort Worth Inc.'s magazine's 40 Under 40. This year, he is a D Magazine Financial Executive finalist. He is a volunteer for the Charles Schwab PGA Tour Golf Tournament at Colonial. His wife, Alexia, a real person who's much smarter than Amazon's voice-controlled intelligent personal assistant. She is a Fort Worth native and controller for a growing Fort Worth company. They have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and a dog named Muskie. Please join me in welcoming Jake.
So Mike stole my joke. We didn't even realize that. So yeah, my wife's name is Alexa, and I didn't really put 2 and 2 together now that it's an AI tool, and I work in AI. It has taken over my house and my life, but let's see, does it switch? Okay, so when I got out of college, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had a finance background, started working with data, and ever since then, I've always kind of leaned towards technology. And through that, AI is like the new wrapper of what companies and clients are talking about. And so I've seen many different things. I guess the first automation AI project I was on was in New Jersey with self-driving cars. This was in like 2017 when it was like, I don't know. At the time, I didn't know that was happening. And so we had a team in Finland that was the hardware team, and then AT&T was the network, and they were doing all this testing and all these things. And so it's obviously advanced really, quickly since then. My wife, like Mike said, my wife and I moved to Fort Worth in 2021. She attended Tanglewood through Pascal. And so Fort Worth has been unique for me because growing up in Denton, moving to Dallas, and then traveling a bunch for my career, Fort Worth is like its own animal in terms of like relationships mean everything. And I think that's really cool that, reputation means a lot, and that's kind of how you get in places. And so I think that's a really unique thing, and something I'm proud of as we help nonprofits and other companies, that it's really word of mouth is what gets us in the door. And then I guess the last thing I was going to touch on here is I'm somewhat of a skeptic on AI. Even though I work in it, I understand that there's a lot of hype in it. And so data is first, in my opinion, and how we get this to work. So if your data is not of good quality, structured, and processes aren't clean, AI is just going to be another tool that you buy and you spend a lot of money on and wonder, why did we do that? So quick agenda. So overview of what I do so that there's some background and we're not just going straight into some of the technology stuff, artificial intelligence, and then the S-curve. If nothing else you take from this, S-curve is a really cool concept to think about. It applies to everything. So there's kind of a growth phase and a plateau, and then you have to jump to the next thing, and when do you jump? And so that's a lot of what we advise clients and companies on, is when to jump to AI is a topic right now. Digital transformation, that's what I lead for a lot of different clients and companies. That's what I did when I was working with like T-Mobile and Amazon. Saw a lot of cool stuff. And then a case example. So Bluebell Ice Cream is a client of ours, and we had a really cool project with those guys. So we'll talk about that and move through it. Quick on Whitley Penn, based in Fort Worth. That's the most important part of this slide for the audience, and we're all over now, and really proud of that. Just to kind of zero in on where I sit in this company, I lead digital services. So there's audit and tax, but digital services is the group I started. And what's also interesting, full circle moment for me, was when I was living in Dallas, we were moving to Fort Worth, and I couldn't really find a technology or data job. I saw a bunch of, at least in Fort Worth, I saw a bunch of oil and gas, bankers, family offices, and I had these skills. I didn't know where to take them, so I thought maybe I'll do it on my own. And Whitley Penn, the Fort Worth way, was like, go figure it out, see if you can start it here. So it's been a fun, 3 years to this point, and we've kind of helped many different industries, many different nonprofits, and those things. We've gone over that part. So a high-level concept that a lot of my clients, business owners, and different folks is, it's like, we have tools and we have technology, we have people and we have process, and there's all these new things out there, and it feels like it's disjointed, it's not really working together. What do we do, and how does this work? And so really, my team's job is to integrate systems, integrate data, integrate processes, and that way you're more efficient, and what you intended for this to look like is actually what it was supposed to be, right? And so that's where we come in. A lot of clients do the best they can with what they have. They don't necessarily have the vision or the strategy of how we bring these things together and get moving. So I've a lot of the folks I talk to, they're concerned with like, our jobs going away. Like, is this all, we're all going to be eliminated from jobs and all of these things. And so I started doing some research on like past examples of innovation that really struck, labor intensive areas. And so shipping was a huge deal. Innovation in 1956, when shipping containers were created, was a big deal. And there were strikes. And on the left, or I guess on your left, is where this is how shipping was performed at that time, before the shipping container was created. So very manual. It was kind of these little packaged parcels that really limited what we were able to bring across ships and across borders. And so a lot of people, it took a lot of time, and it was a huge bottleneck. And when shipping containers were created and kind of brought to life, a lot of people were, hey, this is going to take my job away. Hey, they're not going to need me as much. Hey, I'm not going to get as many shifts. Hey, it's going to blow up all these things. Well, the inverse was actually true, where the trade volumes exploded. And then now you see more products in the market. You're seeing more ports. You're seeing, more things can be shipped over. And so what started as a huge, red flag for a career or an industry has since made it explode, right? Now we have 2-day shipping, we have 2-hour shipping. And so no one would have thought that in the 50s, that could have ever happened, right? And so I think anytime innovation is coming at us, like there's hype, which is where I kind of think we're at. The real value is a little bit below that, but the opportunities that it can unlock are obviously huge, and that's really, I think, the purpose of how we should take AI, and not think it's going to take everything away. So level set on a few terms. Artificial intelligence gets thrown around a lot. when I was coming out of college, machine learning was what everyone was talking about. And then deep learning is also out there, which is like, think of it like you're chatting with American Airlines and it's not a real person, but they're trying to help solution whatever issue you have. And then generative AI is like now producing reports or summarizing and those types of things. So yeah, I think it's good to level set on this because my honest opinion on it is in the same way Apple has to make the next iPhone slightly different than what they currently have and call it something else. Very similar technology concept with how they kind of keep a new wrapper on the next thing. Because for me, generative AI feels just like machine learning, which is considered old school at this point. So, so important there. And then, so the S curve. So again, applies to just about everything. There's early adopters, there's growth, and there's maturity and plateau. The key as a business owner in anything is you want the growth to last as long as possible, right? That's your strategy there. That's your competitive advantage, and then you get to a point where you start to taper off. And so it's like, well, then so what? Do we hit a plateau and nothing happens? The key is you have to make a decision on when do we jump to the next thing. So for some clients and companies, it's like, do we go to AI? Do we start buying and investing? Well, there's a decision to be made on, are we losing a competitive advantage? Are our competitors doing that? When do we jump? Knowing that the costs are obviously high to do those things. So most people I talk to are kind of in this innovation windows, like they call it. And again, like, this applies to just about everything. So like I laugh with my wife because she's like, we need to get a new TV. And when I go to Costco, I don't see the value difference from the 10-year-old TV we have. So we probably won't jump until the thing dies. But very similarly, like, again, thinking about products and technology, when do you jump? It's kind of up to your circumstance. Another kind of fun way to look at this. So Netflix in the 90s, they were shipping DVDs. Then they moved to streaming in the 2000s. I was in college and I thought that was the coolest thing. And I don't think we watched anything. It was just my dad's credit card and he just paid it no matter what. So sorry. And then they since moved into, in the 2020s, original content. So they started making their own content, knowing that they could kind of protect the margin and increase, what they put out there, and they weren't. And at that time, you started seeing like Paramount and these other companies starting to pull back their own content and creating their own streaming services. And then now Netflix hosted NFL games this past Christmas, which 20 years ago, you would have never thought that was possible. And then similarly, it relates to everything. My golf game has been very flat, like an immediate plateau since I started playing golf. And then relating this back to AI, so, we're in the AI hype, right? We're in the AI growth. How long it goes, we won't know. Typically, seems like there's like a 20-year kind of window of time when technology kind of takes over and then something else trumps it. So mainframe computing, 50s to 70s, personal distributed into the 90s, and then iPhones, iPads, that whole era where everyone was buying those things off the shelf. Not as much of a hype anymore, obviously plateauing, and now we're seeing AI integrated with iPhones. We're seeing, all these bots and tools and things hitting the market. And again, we're in a growth phase, but there will be something that goes next, right? That we'll have to kind of account for. So then if, as a business owner, and you're seeing, there's nonprofits I do a lot of work with the Center for Nonprofit Management in Dallas. And so from time to time, we'll talk with different folks running those organizations. And they're like, well, when am I ready for AI? Or when can I buy AI? Or should I go download this thing? And the first thing is like security. What are we throwing in that tool? Let's think about that first. But if the data that is being created that flows through your business processes, if it's not clean and organized and those types of characteristics, then AI is never really going to take off. And you could buy the tool, it's not going to scale, and then you're going to be like, why did we buy this thing? So where we spend most of our time is on like under the surface of how does data connect, what systems are you using, how do we integrate the systems and those kind of things. So I would start there. And if you need like a good picture of that, there's, obviously reach out, we can have a conversation, or there's a lot of education online as well, looking up data management and those types of things. So again, this is like the non-fun stuff, but really I've been on good projects and I've been on projects that aren't so much fun. And really this is the fundamentally you have to kind of unfortunately tackle before you can get to the fun stuff. Okay, and so then moving into digital transformation, again, we work with data, we work with systems, and AI is like the next step a lot of people want to talk about. So that's kind of how all this is related. Why transform? A lot of it's like we want to be more efficient, we want to be, move quicker, we want to enable growth, and when I'm off work, I want to know that things are just working and I don't have to necessarily be in front of my computer to see stuff. So we help with process improvement and those kind of things. And that's why. I mean, you make your employees more efficient. You don't have to hire as many people, or the people that are there are, kind of enjoy what they're doing. They're not working in Excel all the time. Some quick components on that we're going to cover, but here's a good slide to kind of talk through. So digital transformation, we are working with the people in your organization. We're working with the processes that they're pushing or using, and then the reporting and the data that's around those things. So everything that we do kind of incorporates all of these pieces, and it's not just one thing. I think a lot of people want to just implement a new technology and say we're good, but it really takes, all of these things are kind of intertwined. So again, so you don't just buy the next thing and hope it makes improvements. All of these things kind of need to be considered at some level. And then here's a fun slide. So when I did a project for the Humane Society, and in December, it's like the Plaza Hotel of kennels. It's like they get sold out very quickly, and they're trying to get as many adoptions as possible, but they don't know how many dogs that they can take in. And so we had to bring in multiple systems within the Humane Society to come up with basically like a hotel occupancy, if you want to call it that, for kennels. So that's their busy season when adoptions take place, but they also they just don't know how many dogs they can take in. It's really hard to manage all those things. And so we built basically like what's the input and what's the output. So they had a little bit of a view on if we do this many adoption events, we can expect this many dogs to be adopted, which will free up this much space. So that was a pretty cool project. But again, where my team will focus is the output, not necessarily all the technology stuff in the background, but how does this drive more kennel space or more adoptions or those kind of things. So again, output, we start kind of from the outcome and move backwards. And then really to simplify all of this, you can talk technology and you can talk all the crazy lingo. It really comes down to pain points and understanding the business. So once you have pain points, you kind of list those. Like, hey, this takes me forever to do. That's a pain point, obviously. Now you understand kind of why does it take so much time, and then you work through that, and then that kind of unlocks the rest of the geeky, techie stuff, right? So again, I think if you're looking to move into AI or be more efficient or use automation and all these things, it's really understanding pain points first, then moving into the more complex technology stuff. Okay, so here's my last kind of section, and it was very interesting. So obviously a 100-year-old ice cream company here in Texas. I assume most people have had Bluebell in their life here. So when you go to Tom Thumb, you'll see you'll see doors, obviously freezer section. You'll see gold rim products with the lid colors gold. You'll see brown rim products, brown rim. Back in the day, the idea was like cost of goods is like 70% milk or dairy, right? So it's like all the costs are about the same. So it doesn't really matter to make it granular at that level, but the brown rim was stuff that had like candies, nuts, sauces, and those things. And then gold rim is like the classics, like homemade vanilla, Dutch chocolate, and that stuff. So they have 12 gold rim flavors and 12 brown rim flavors, but in their systems, that was 2 rows. It was gold rim and brown rim. So their CFO, their executive team wasn't able to see the granularity of like how well does homemade vanilla sell. It's their best seller, but like how well does it sell? And then how well does like, I don't know. There's a few that don't do super hot, but like Rocky Road. I think it's good, but how well does that one sell, right? So our goal was to say, how do we break down your database tables to show that level of detail, but not break the promotions team, the people that make the recipes, the drivers that are scanning the products and putting it on the shelves, like they're also incorporated. And then another issue was with, online grocery shopping. Because you can't see that level of detail, if you type in vanilla ice cream at Kroger, Bluebell doesn't pop up. If you see Bluebell, you have to request flavor in the cart. So in the notes, you have to put like homemade vanilla. Well, there's also vanilla bean, so that's an issue too. So we went live 3 weeks ago. It was about a year-long project to get everyone kind of incorporated. And what's funny is the president and others were like, hey, if the database table has 2 rows, make it 24 and we're good, right? Well, no, it actually incorporated all of these things. So we had to go from end to end. How is ice cream created? How are the packaging, the barcodes created? How do you communicate to retailers? How do you create new items in the system? The warehousing system needs to know where and what is at the location. How do drivers put it in the shelves? How do they scan it? How does it go across the Tom Thumb scanner and it records correctly? And then how does accounting and finance ultimately receive all this information? So, they're in all the SEC states. They're trying to move up north. And so, as they get bigger, they have to be able to see this type of data. So it was our team that kind of put the strategy together. I rode with delivery or the ice, they're Bluebell employees that are taking the ice cream to the grocery stores. I rode with those guys at 3 a.m. to see how they use their handhelds to make sure we didn't design this to where they're like, this is, a total pain now. So took all that into consideration. And then, the crazy part about all this is we had to organize the production teams, the accounting teams, the drivers, the marketing teams. And so that was kind of our, connecting all this. And you would have thought it's just a data problem. It's all these things kind of intertwined. So, so there's our case study and open for questions. We brought Pro V1 Whitley Penn logo balls for the first question. Whoever wants to jump in. So,
What's your favorite flavor?
They just came out with this protein ice cream, and it just came out I think this week. But the chocolate protein ice cream it's really good. But homemade vanilla is the easy choice. So, yep.
Jake, let's talk about this similar project.
Mm-hmm.
My experience in working on similar projects is dirty data.
Yep.
How hard is it today to clean up that data in order to build something like this? It's fairly complicated, is it not?
It gets easy. So if the answer is how many years of data, when do we want to draw the line, right? So if we want to try to bring in all 80 years of data, that's going to be a big problem. If we want to bring in the last 2 years and say that's kind of our cutoff period, obviously we scope it down and it gets easier. But it all kind of comes back to when we focus on the reporting and the output of all of this, that's what matters. So there's a lot of kind of things that we could focus on, but when we understand what the CFO is using to drive the business, it might be 4 columns in a spreadsheet. That's really the data we focus on, and that way it kind of strips it down on so we're not spending time, cleaning things that may or may not matter, right? So that's how we kind of think about it, is how do you make decisions, and that's that's our focus when we do those things. Yep.
In that regard, what if they're using the wrong things to make decisions?
Mm-hmm. So luckily, clients get audited, right? So when those audits are performed and there's financials that are produced, we tie back to the audited financials. So that way, the source of truth would be the audit. And so we know that how we're configuring reports and we're changing data, that it is tied back to audited financials. So that's kind of how we know our north and south pole of like where we're at on when we're changing stuff. Otherwise, yeah, you may get down a rabbit hole that may or may not be the right, or you could be producing information that's not tied, therefore it could be slightly off.
Which area do you see the most change in adoption of AI? Is it healthcare, government, some other businesses?
I think healthcare has the biggest opportunity, but healthcare has like the most compliance and data requirements. So that one's not going to move as fast, but that one is the gold mine, I think. Oil and gas is also huge. That could reap a benefit from AI, but a lot of the systems are not really built in a modern way. So a lot of clients I work with that are in oil and gas, like it's a mainframe system. It's been like that forever. So those are really hard to like get to the next, using an old system and getting the next level. Yeah, I think healthcare is probably the biggest one, but then with healthcare, I think cybersecurity will be as equally important. So yeah, that'd be the two I would say have the biggest, you can see the biggest change coming up.
So workflow for a lot of businesses is starting to change because of various AI products.
Mm-hmm.
And I get like 100 ads a day on use this workflow system for your CRM and for everything else. And so is there any particular products that you are starting to see that are better than others when it comes to addressing that?
So that is a common problem. Going back to what I was saying about how like the iPhone 14 and 15 and 16 are all very much the same thing, but they call them something different. Every software to stay competitive is saying we have AI and we have this automation embedded in our stuff. And so what ends up happening is over 5 years, you're going to have 6 different softwares with 6 different AI bots, but you're no better off than where you were. And so I think a lot of what my team will use is called Alteryx. Alteryx is like a really easy kind of platform to like move stuff around and connect stuff. And that's like agnostic to the other source systems. So what I would look for is like a tool like that can like, it's not inside of another system, it's like kind of a standalone. And then what that does is it allows you to kind of not have to keep upgrading with the other systems. You have like your own little automation platform. And I would look at it that like as a separate thing and not just always bolt on stuff within the same softwares. So.
So let's go back to the question a minute ago. Let's assume that we have a legacy system that's 30 years old. Now all of a sudden we have a change in ownership and they want to go to the 20, 25, 26, 20, 30 method. Do we have to start over again, or can we port some of that data from the legacy system to our new system? How do we get there in a cost-effective manner?
Yeah, good question. So question was, as a change of ownership, another system may be on the table. What's the most cost-effective way and the best strategy to do something like that? So I work with tons of companies. Like there's a door and hardware company out in Tyler, Texas. They've been around for 50 years and they run their whole company off Excel spreadsheets. They do like 40 million a year, and it is very impressive how they have kept this thing together with Excel. So that's a whole animal in itself to like move all these disparate spreadsheets into a system. And so what we do is, there's a million softwares out there, but we have a methodology of what are the requirements that we're trying to accomplish with the software, and then we marry that up with solutions that are out there. And then we'll advise on, hey, you really don't need a Lamborghini, you just need a bicycle. And so we can help them based on what their business needs. We can tell them, you really don't need this really expensive software, you really just need the basics and the fundamentals. And so it's usually things like that. It's like understanding what exactly do you need from the system, and there's varying systems out there, and then we can kind of get them to the right price point, if you will, on like what makes the most sense to move to. So it just kind of depends, but I think it's understanding what do you need out of the system, and a lot of people skip right past that and they just go implement something, but really understanding and drawing that out in order to, implement the right fit solution for them. Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, you said you were kind of skeptical of the industry at some
Mm-hmm.
point. Do you have an opinion on like certain stocks like NVIDIA or Broadcom? Are they going to be able to make big money well in the future?
So I'm 33, so I probably haven't seen enough to know, but I will say that I think that at least my opinion and where I work and the places I've been, the promises that I think people have in their minds with what actually needs to happen to accomplish those things, there's a mismatch. So like the self-driving car project I was on in 2017, when 5G, who remembers when like 4G went to 5G? The 5G network had to be in place, otherwise cars, it was like there's a 2 millisecond speed that had to be in place for a car to stop if it saw something. With 4G, it was like a 20 millisecond speed that it was allowed, that it had. So it would go right through something, right? So I think, and the point there is infrastructure needs to be in place for all these AI benefits to actually happen. I don't think the infrastructure is there just yet. I don't think AI is going anywhere, but I think what people are really excited about may take some time to get to. So my view is the infrastructure is not in place to do some of the things that it says it can do. Maybe you can move faster. You see a lot of data center news out there, which I think that needs to be in place before we really start to see some big improvements. So I'm skeptical. It's not going anywhere, but I think if this is what people think it is, it's probably closer to this. So. Yep.
This is good. Do you think that AI is going to be able to recuperate all the money it's put in?
Yes, eventually. Again, I think it's a little overhyped now, but
Us first, come back?
maybe, yeah. That's probably the more practical scenario, but people, yeah, there's a lot of factors in play there. So, but yeah, I would say it's at least like there's an example. I got clients that are like, hey, I bought Claude, right? I'm like, cool. What do we do with Claude? And they're like, I just throw Excel files in there and it gives me all this information. And they're paying, I don't know how much for that tool. And in reality, it's like, hey, you actually didn't need that tool. If we just build the report to push button and it creates it, you don't need Claude for that. We can do that work at a much lower cost. And so I think people are buying tools, and so I think it's just inflated and expectations for now, but it'll get there. So.
Thank you, Jake. Jake, it's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to make a contribution in your honor to Rotary International's Polio Plus Fund. Over 38 years, Rotary worldwide has supported the efforts to eradicate polio, providing over 3 billion immunizations. Thank you very much for making our heads spin.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Well, okay, in closing, we have 3 quick announcements today. Thank you to our meeting sponsor, Whitley Penn. We want to welcome the Post-L Group as a new RLK RMBA 2026 patron sponsor. So, thank you, Jeff. And next week, we have a very special program. Marine Corps veteran and Iwo Jima survivor, Don Graves. His Marine company entered the battle with 335 men. He was one of only 18 survivors. Today, there are only 4 living survivors from the Battle of Iwo Jima. So this is a unique opportunity to hear from a real American hero who happens to be 100 years old. So I know you'll want to be here next week. Thanks again to our friends at the Boys and Girls Club. Congratulations to our grant recipients. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the weather. Our meeting is adjourned.